the book that you are releasing now?
So it's called Goliath.
Which book will be
The
released
Athlete
by
of
you now?
Yeah, so the release is yet to happen, but the book is in the final stages of publication. The book is absolutely ready for printing, sir.
Great.
And that's
all
what
the
we'll be
best.
talking about today: how to become a goalie and how to set goals that inspire the world. That is the sense of
Beautiful.
our exchange today.
Fantastic.
Thank you for the opportunity, Ravi.
So
Thank
you
you,
have a
Murali.
team now
Namaste,
going
Namaste,
to
ji.
Norway, is it? So I saw some message.
Yes, sir. So I'll be remotely because of the protocols. There's very slim support staff that is allowed. So going with a skeletal coaching staff, and I'll be inspiring them remotely from here, sir. Thanks to technology, now virtually you
Yes.
can do what before required a lot of resources. So that's one of the things which I think we should be emphasizing more on, like how to not have any limitation in life. कि हर सीमा से ऊपर उठ जाना ये असली गोलीट की निशानी है.
Very nice.
Vikrantji,
So whenever
Namaste, Murali Subramanian here.
you intend me to
Vikrantji,
start, sir,
Namaste.
and I'm ready.
But Murliji, shall we start off or you can take over?
Yeah, 1 second. Vikrantji, Namaste. Murali here.
Namaste. Namaste, sir.
Yeah, okay. So nice that you could, this, you are having some difficulty, in joining.
Yeah, Marlena, you can start now. Recording is on, live is on.
Okay. Okay. Varun and Sushrita, let us start.
Okay, sir. Shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you will land among the stars. On that note, let us begin our session today. I know a lot of people from around the world have joined us today, but from where I am, there is a bright sun right above my head. So I'm going to go with a very pleasant good afternoon to one and all. We feel privileged to extend our warm welcome to everyone present here for this special inspirational program on the theme Nation First. We have among us a great personality, and I'm super excited to hear from him. I am Varun Bhaskar, and I'll be your co-host today for this program. Have done my bachelor's in electronics and communication from Saranathan College of Engineering, and soon going to be start working as a site reliability engineer for a company called State Street. I've been a sports enthusiast all my life, and that makes me even more excited to hear from our guest speaker today.
Lou Holtz once said, if you are bored with life, you don't get up every morning with a burning desire to do things. You don't have enough goals. Our guest speaker today would be talking on the theme, how to uplift the nation and inspire the world with the power of goals. To give a little bit of hint on who he is, have you guys ever heard of super positivity is the soul of universe? Have you? If you haven't, you are in for a pleasant surprise on knowing who he is and what he has to share with us today. Hello everyone, I am Sushrita Bharadwaj. I would also be your co-host today in this session alongside Varun. I am currently pursuing third year BE in Computer Science and Engineering at RNS Institute of Technology, Bangalore. I have been an orator for 5 years now, and I'm also a trainer at JCI Tumkur Metro, which is an NGO that trains youth for better tomorrow. I was one of the top 8 finalists of Speak for India, India's biggest intercollegiate debate competition. Now, without further ado, let's get into the session today. It is a mask of our undying tradition to invoke the Almighty at the beginning of an important event. Like the great philosopher Soren once said, the function of prayer is not to influence God, but rather to change the nature of one who prays. Yes. Now I request Kirtana, who studied 12th standard from Srivatsa Vishwanathan Vivekananda Vidyalaya, Chitlapakam, Chennai, to give an amazing start to our session by invoking the Lord Almighty with a prayer song. Over to you, Kirtana.
मामवतु श्री सरस्वती Shri Saraswati Kamakoti Pita Nivasini Mamavatu Shri Saraswati Kamakoti Pita Nivasini Mamavatu Shri Saraswati Kamakoti Pita Nivasini Mamavatu Shri Saraswati.
Wow.
कोमलकर सरोज श्रुतवीणा कोमलकर सरोज श्रुतवीणा कोमलकर सरोज श्रुतवीणा सीमादिभूषण सीमादिभूषण मामवतु श्री सरस्वती कामकोटि पीठ निवासिनी मामवतु श्री सरस्वती. राजाधिराज पूजित चरणाराजीवनयना रमणीयवदना राजाधिराज पूजित चरणाराजीवनयना रमणीयवदना सुजन मनोरथ पूरण चतुरानि जगळ शोभित मणिमयहार भजवमन्दित वासुदेव चरणामृत सकल वेद सारमवतु श्री सरस्वती कामकोटि पीठ निवासिनी मामवतु श्री सरस्वती. Thank you, sir.
Wow. Wow, Kirtana, that was so beautiful.
Thank you, Kirtana. It was divinely to hear from you. Tirukkural is a precious gem among the classics, unique in the deliverance of code of conduct to the mankind to follow for all time to come. It enshrines in it 1330 couplets under 133 chapters, each chapter comprising 10 verses. The chapters again fall under 3 major divisions: virtue, wealth, and love. This treatise encompasses the whole gamut of human life, and by Thiruvalluvar, its illustrious author illuminates every bit of it. This classical work, written in Tamil, has been translated into over 60 languages around the world. I would like to invite K.R. Gayatri, who is studying in 9th grade, also from Srivatsa Vishwanathan Vivekananda Vidyalaya, to enlighten us with some amazing Kurals.
नमस्सर्वेभ्यः. मम नाम गायत्री. अहं नवमी कक्षायां पठामि. अहं श्रीवत्स विश्वनाथ विवेकानन्द विद्यालये पठामि. अहम् इदानीं तिरुवल्लुवर महोदयः रचितं तिरुकुरल् तमिळ् भाषायाम्, आङ्ग्लभाषायां, संस्कृतभाषायां च वदामि. कुरल्. வெள்ளத்தணைய மலர் நீட்டம் மாந்தர்த்தம் உள்ளத்தணையது உயர்வு. பொருள்: ஒரு தடாகத்தில் இருக்கும் நீரின் உயரத்தின் அளவுக்கு ஏற்ப நீரில் பூக்கும் மலர்களான தாமரை, அல்லி, ஆம்பல் போன்ற மலர்களின் தண்டுகள் நீண்டு இருக்கும். நீர்வரத்து அதிகமாக அதிகமாக நீர்நிலையின் நீர்மட்டம் உயர ஆரம்பிக்கும். நீர்மட்டம் உயர்ந்தால் தண்டும் நீரின் மட்டத்திற்கேற்ப நீரின் மேல் உயர்ந்து கொண்டே வரும். இது நீரில் வளரும் தாவரங்களின் இயல்பு. அதுபோல ஒருவனுடைய மனதில் உள்ள ஊக்கத்திற்கேற்ப அவனது வளர்ச்சி இருக்கும். மனிதனின் ஊக்கம் மிகுதியாக ஆக அவனது வளர்ச்சியும் கூடிக்கொண்டே இருக்கும். இது இயல்பாக ஊக்கமுடைய ஒருவனின் வாழ்வில் நடைபெறும் ஒரு செயலாகும். The stalks of water flowers are proportionate to the depth of water. So is men's greatness proportionate to their minds. सर्वेषां जीवनकाले किं करणीयं किं न करणीयम् इति दत्तमस्ति. तिरुक्कुरल् मध्ये सहस्रत्रिंशत् मालाः सन्ति. अहं तिरुक्कुरल् मालात् उत्साह अधिकारात् 595 मालां वदामि. धैर्यं प्रसूननालस्य नीरागाधनिबन्धनं तथा जीवितवृद्धिश्च स्यादुत्साहनिबन्धना. अम्बोजनस्य नालस्य बन्धनं कीदृशमस्ति तादृशमेव मनुष्याणां जीवनवृद्धिः तेषाम् उत्साहबन्धनात् प्रसन्नमस्ति. धन्यवादः.
Thank you, Gayatri. It was fabulous to hear from you. It was amazing indeed. You know, just as when we purchase an appliance of some kind, like a refrigerator, television, or a computer, you get a manual that teaches us how to use it. So in the same way, if God created this world and put us here, doesn't it seem that he should also tell us what the purpose of this life is and how to use it accordingly? The Bhagavad Gita is such an inspirational and an instruction manual for anyone. It provides the basic answers that most people have about life and universal spiritual truths that can be used by anyone, anywhere, and at any time in history. In this way, it is timeless. And can we all just pause for a moment and realize that Bhagavad Gita is the direct words and teachings of Lord Krishna himself? Let us hear some Gita by Sharanya, who is studying in 12th grade, also from Srivatsa Vishwanathan Vivekananda Vidyalaya. Most of you may know her as she was the master of ceremony in our last program with Shri Sridhar Vembu sir.
Thank you. Namaste. So I'll be saying a sloka from the 6th chapter, 6th verse from the Bhagavad Gita. It goes like this. Bandhur atmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmanajitah anatmanastu shatrutve vartetatmaiva shatruvad. So the translation goes like this. For him who has conquered the mind is the best of the friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. One who cannot control his mind lives always with the greatest enemy, and thus his life and its mission are spoiled. As long as one's mind remains an unconquered enemy, one has to serve the dictations of lust, anger, and illusion. Now in Hindi, जिसने मन को जीत लिया है उसके लिए मन सर्वश्रेष्ठ मित्र है, किंतु जो ऐसा नहीं कर पाया इसके लिए मन सबसे बड़ा शत्रु बना रहेगा. जो अपने मन को वश में नहीं कर सकता वह सतत अपने परम शत्रु के साथ निवास करता है और इस तरह उसका जीवन तथा लक्ष्य दोनों ही नष्ट हो जाते हैं. अतः जब तक मन अविजित शत्रु बना रहता है तब तक मनुष्य को काम, क्रोध, लोभ, मोह आदि की आज्ञाओं का पालन करना होता है. धन्यवाद.
Thank you, Sharanya. That was really informative and my day just got better. Before we proceed further, I would like to talk a few words about Pride of Bharat, who is organizing this amazing program for us today. Pride of Bharat is a global initiative to celebrate the remarkable work of Indians across various fields such as science, innovation, technology, and culture. It was created bring together like-minded people interested in taking the prosperity and growth of our country to the next level. In the last 75 years, India has grown from a third world country to one of the fastest growing economies in the world. The Indian diaspora is making great progress in the field of technology and entrepreneurship, contributing significantly to global markets. Pride of Bharat aims to bring inspiring stories from all walks of life to the forefront, promote national integration through such forums, and inculcate a sense of pride and honor for our country in the students' minds. Under the umbrella of Pride of Bharat, we have various forums like Kural for Management, Hindi Genius, Tamil Genius, Telugu Genius, etc., and also various technical forums like Bharat Tech Enabler Forum. Pride of Bharat has been arranging motivational webinars under the theme Nation First through eminent personalities for international students every month. Recently, Mr. Sridhar Vembu, founder and CEO of Zoho Corporation, interacted with thousands of students.
The fragrance of flowers spread only in the direction of the wind, but the goodness of a person spreads in all directions. Amidst us, we have one such inspiring personality. I request Revant Bhaskar, a fourth-year medical student studying at Cardiff University, who has interests in surgery and neuroscience, to introduce our guest of honor today.
Born in Jammu to Veena and Sham Kishore Gupta, Vikrant Mahajan studied commerce in the University of Jammu, publishing at the University of Denver, and filmmaking at the New York Film Academy. In 2001, he started his professional career as an editor with HarperCollins Publishers India. In 2003, he won the first runner-up at Mr. Photogenic at Grasim Mr. India. In 2012, he made his Bollywood debut with the film Challo Driver, which he wrote, directed, and produced, and acted in as well. In 2014, he became the first person in the world to speak continuously and unscripted for over 24 hours at a stretch on a single topic. Among his many Guinness World Records are the longest speech, the longest play, the largest book signing, the largest greeting card, most football penalties in 24 hours, most basketball passes in 1 minute, longest squash rally, and the largest underwater painting exhibition in the world. In 2019, Vikrant was appointed as Team India's motivator for the Senior World Wrestling Championship in Nur Sultan, Kazakhstan. The first time something like this happened in Indian sport. It turned out to be the best ever World Championship for India, as it won 5 medals and had 4 direct Olympic qualifications. In 2020, Vikrant motivated Team India to its best ever Olympic qualifying tournament in Amman, Jordan, where 9 out of 13 boxers qualified for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, setting a new Olympic qualification record for India. Vikrant has motivated over 75 Olympic, World, Continental, Commonwealth, and national champions across 11 sports to excel at the biggest sporting events globally. He has authored 3 books, including Yes, Thank You, Universe, Super Positivity, Stretch Yourself, Super Champion, Goletics, The Glacier River Ocean Principle, and Golet. He presently runs a consciousness organization called Super Positivity Movement and is a motivational organization called Golet International. He shares the infinite power of super positivity with people all around the world and inspires them to fulfill their highest goals in lives. Vikrant also mentored Ravi Danya, Neeraj Chopra, and Deepak Punia to win the highest laurels for the country at the recently concluded Tokyo Olympics. He's a global pioneer for super positivity philosophy, creator of the Goliath program, and India's lead sports motivator. Let's take the time to welcome him to our wonderful program today.
Thank you, Revant. And thank you so much, Vikrant sir, for sharing with us some of your precious time. We feel extremely honored. Now, I would just like to set some ground rules. Whenever sir is speaking, if you feel like asking a question, kindly drop it in the chat box and they will surely be answered after the session. Please do not unmute yourself at any cost and listen to the session keenly. Now, please take away the stage, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, Sushita. Thank you, Revan. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm blessed and honored. It's a bliss and a blessing to be able to connect with you all today. Thank you, Raviji. Thank you, Muraliji, for this super awesome opportunity. So today, it's not going to be a talk. It's not going to be a speech, but an exchange. So I love open source softwares. I love open source additions where, things are co-created. I believe that nobody actually does anything in isolation. Things are done synergistically, collectively. So even today, I'll be presenting ideas. And then further to those ideas, if you all have any questions or any comments, please feel free post the session, as Sushita said, to add on to that. So at the very outset of the exchange, I'm going to ask you all a simple question, and any of you is free to answer. What do you think is the biggest factor among those who go on to accomplish at the highest level? So I'll repeat the question. What do you think is the biggest factor, the biggest commonality among the most legendary and the most successful people in the world? What is the one factor, according to you, that enables them to do that in any field?
Sure, if I may answer so.
Please do.
I feel it's focus, determination, and like towards a particular goal. You don't deviate from that goal, and being positive throughout, you achieve that goal.
Wow. So according to Gosrin, it's goal. It's focus. It's focus on your goal. Fantastic. Fantastic. That was a brilliant answer, Gosrin. Anybody else wants to contribute to the question? Zeal inside us. Vishnu says the zeal inside us. Fantastic. Fantastic. Anybody else? Okay. Veda Vishisht, time management. Wonderful.
Can I suggest the word perseverance? You can have a focus, that's a cynosure, and perseverance will help culminate the focus which you have enshrined for yourself.
Perseverance. Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. Wonderful. So all of these are dedication, confidence, brilliant answers, all of them brilliant. But I think what most fundamentally, as Vasran said at the very outset, so within that statement also lies according to me, what is the fundamental force that impels people to that level of accomplishment? It is a goal. The sponsoring energy to any exemplary endeavor in life is always a goal. Without a seed, how do we expect to have an orchard? It's the seed that will be the genesis of the crop. So without a goal, the more exalted the goal, the bigger the level of achievement. I say this from experience, and I say this from having worked very closely with some of the most inspiring personalities all over the world, that each one of them has a very distinctive vision, a very distinctive purpose. So since I'm assuming that most of you are studying, whether in school or college, so let me ask you all, how many of you have identified your purpose in life, your passion in life? And this again is an open question to all of you. How many of you have found your purpose before you find your goal? How many of you found your passion, your driving force in life? And there is not a right answer to this. We are looking for original answers, unique answers, and I most welcome distinctive answers. So please, if any of you would love to chime in. Have you identified your purpose in life? Yes, Abhinav? Arts and music. Wonderful. Wonderful. Great. And anybody else?
Sir, I feel even though you might have found your passion and goal, passion as such, you need not pursue it. It can just be a passion. So it differs from what your actual goal is.
So the question is, have you identified your passion?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. So what is the answer to that question?
Sir, my passion is sports, but I need not necessarily pursue it.
So which will then lead us to the next part. What do you mean by pursuit? Sports is not just what is played on field. Sports is also the framework around a sporting entity, which is the support staff, which is the sports managers, which is coaches, physios. There is so much ancillary stuff that is woven around every sports person, especially a competitive sports person. So to say that sports is my passion does not preclude you from a sporting career, does not sort of exclude you from that. So to say music is my passion, now I need not become a singer, but I could be associated with the music fraternity. I could be a record producer. I could be a lyricist. I could be an arranger. I could be a musician. I could be an N number of things. The key before you set a goal is to know what drives you. And I'll get to that as well. Like, why am I doing what I'm doing? And what drives me and what drives all the people that are getting some of the most wonderful accomplishments, like Neeraj Chopra or like Ravi Dahiya. What is the secret? Today, we are demystifying the code. We are not establishing the code. The code is there. We're just demystifying it. Yes. Anybody else with their passion?
Can I?
Yes, sir. Please. Please welcome, sir.
You see, purpose, in the realm of purpose, there is a differential of what is desirability and what is feasibility. You choose a career. Say someone wanted to join Merchant Navy, but he joins the armed forces. Now, the purpose is driven by the intricacies in the stream in which he has come and the way he paddles around along that stream, and he sets a goal and he again sets a goal thereafter. These are not, the culmination where he can reach, but there are phase lines of your achievement which is there. So he sets sub goals and then he sets the goal. So the intricacies of that particular thing, what the feasibility has brought you in, that is very, very important to overcome them and sail through them.
Very true, sir. Very true. The continuity, it's a continual progression. Wonderful, sir. So what we will do, Anjana says, my passions are drawings, dancing, singing songs, writing poem, and writing in general. So this is all wonderful. I'll tell you what my passion was when I was growing up, and which till today abides and is going to continue forevermore. That was to inspire myself to be the highest version of myself and try to show that light and example to as many people as I could. I was born and raised in Jammu. Back in 1976, I was born in 1976, and I grew up in the Jammu and Kashmir of the 80s and the 90s, which is the most turbulent place in the world to have grown up in. So when I was growing up in that milieu, I saw everybody around me subjecting themselves to a victim mindset, thinking that, oh, you know what, there's strikes, there's curfew, there's insurgency news all the time. So most people were bogged down by that milieu. So I set it as my purpose, driven from my passion, to inspire people to be the best version of themselves. So I took that as a template. I said, like, wow, there's a reason why I'm born here. There's a purpose to my life. And I will join all of them in one string. I will join my passion, which will then fuel my purpose. My purpose is to inspire humanity to be super positive, to never be negative. That is my core purpose in life, driven by my passion. to read books on motivation, to write books on positive energy, to talk to people about positive energy. That's my passion. But my purpose is to inspire as many people as I can throughout the world to never, ever give in to negativity of any sort whatsoever. Because according to me, negativity is the progenitor of all human ailment, societal ailment as well as personal. All terrorism is born of negativity, if you ask me. All disease is born of negativity. All corruption is born of negativity. Now imagine a super positive person. Would you expect that person to be corrupt? I mean, that's a question I ask you. Would you expect a super positive person and corruption to cohabit, to coexist? What sort of a person would give in to corruption? It is a person who has yet not found that positive energy within themselves to contribute and to set the highest ideals for the world, for society at large. So I decided, I ascertained growing up in that milieu and later on few events in my life that triggered that, as Sir said, that it is always a state of continuum. So the reason I started with this was that what I'll be sharing with you today is called a Goliath program. Goliath program is actually a framework of how, as Varun spoke earlier on about having a manual of creation. So this is a more contemporary, very, very functional, simple manual of how anybody can set targets, goals, and accomplish them. So I call it the Goliath program. But before we get into that program, why the word Goliath? So Goliath is a new word that I've coined. It's a portmanteau, a union of two words, goal and athlete. When you join the two words, you get the word Goliath. Now, because I work a lot with athletes and I find them the most motivated people, naturally the most motivated people. Each one of them is trying to surmount so many limitations and challenges. They're naturally motivated. They're athletes. But I feel that anybody can be an athlete. You don't have to be a sports person to be an athlete. You can be an athlete of goals. The moment you set a goal and you start playing it like a sport, you become a goalie. You become a sports person. Then the passion, the fun, the enthusiasm, the zeal, the effervescence, they all come together because your goal is not drudgery anymore. It's not a clinical, pursuit. It is to be played like a game, like a sport. So whether one wants to become healthier, whether one wants to become more punctual, whether one wants to contribute better to the environment, whether one intends to win a gold medal for the country, whether one intends to become an IAS officer, or whatever, or even a homemaker, a chef. You see, what I have personally seen is that we get into too much judgment. We start judging people on the basis of what their innermost drive is. While in the universe, there isn't any judgment. Have you ever wondered why a cockroach is born and we are born at the same time? We are actually coexisting with the cockroach or with a centipede. Now, do you think the universe is judging and saying, oh, you know what? You're a more superior creation and this is an inferior creation? That is a judgment that continuously goes on inside us, human beings. But when we start looking at the realm of infinity and from the realm of infinity, we start saying, wow, it's all a continuous process. We are all links in the chain. And actually, I very firmly believe that we human beings are not the final link in the chain. There were primates, there were apes that led to our emergence. Millions of years of apes inhabiting the planet has enabled us to come into being. Perhaps millions of years of humankind being on this planet will lead to a much, much, much more empathetic and a much, much better holistic species than us. So what I am trying to get at is that not judging anybody's goal, purpose, or passion, but going within, introspecting, and finding out what is it that I love. If growing up in Jammu Kashmir, I had not devoted myself to, I love reading books on positive energy. The first book I ever read was The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale when I was 12. And that was in 88, 89, when the insurgency had blown up in our state and things were at the bleakest point. I was introduced to that book then. And that book introduced me to the power of transforming your thought, your mind, and then you will be able to manifest the highest states of human existence. So that book led me on to other books and then other books and then other books. And unjudgingly, like a student, I kept following through on that journey. So my passion, very simply, maybe if many people had seen me at that time, they would have said, oh, you should be reading books on engineering. You're wasting your time. Because we think engineers are contributing more than you ever would. I heard that. I heard that a lot while I was growing up. Even now I do. Because we live in times where there's so much judgment that people will tell you, oh, you know what? You should be a doctor. Because doctors are healers. And today I'll say this with all humility, that I also motivate around 50 doctors all over the world to try to be better doctors and better human beings. So there isn't any firmament or any field of human endeavor that I do not engage today, including IAS officers or the highest level of sports persons in India. Where did it start from? From an 11-year young child, one day picking up a book and saying, wow, I love this. I also would want to motivate people one day. That is where my passion was born. And that gave birth to my purpose that living in Jammu Kashmir, I will try to set an example to the world that, you know what, emerge from a victim mindset. The sun is shining here as well. The planet is spinning here as well. Air is blowing here as well. Water is available here as well. So where is the limitation? So today my message to people all over the world is it doesn't matter which part of the world you're in. Honestly, I conceived the whole Olympic campaign from this small town, Jammu, and I have executed the whole campaign from here without being in a metro or without being aligned to any national federation when I started. So it brings me back to the power of goal setting. So Goliath program is made of 5 elements. There are 5 rules to the Goliath program, like 5 fingers make a fist. 5 rules make the Goliath program. Rule number 1 is set a positive goal and set a time frame. Rule number 1 of the Goliath program is set a positive goal and set a time frame. Now, I'll give you the example of a man called Glenn Mills. You might not have ever heard of him. So how many of you have heard of Usain Bolt? Almost everyone has heard of Usain Bolt. The irony is that Glenn Mills is the man who made Usain Bolt. He happens to be Usain Bolt's coach. Usain Bolt, before he came to Glenn Mills, I'll tell you Glenn Mills' story. When he was 13, he participated in his first high school 100-meter sprint. First, he came last in that race. And that, after the race, he went to the doctor to get his foot examined, and they found out that he was flat-footed. And his playing career finished there. The man ran only one sprint in his life, 100-meter sprint, came last, never ran again. So that man, the day he came out of the doctor's clinic, set a goal. At the age of 13, by the way. And most people would laugh at that goal because it sounds crazy. He said, one day, not as an athlete, but as a coach, I'm going to enable my country, Jamaica, to win at least 10 gold medals at the Olympics. That is what I say about the power of goals, that anybody can set a goal of any magnitude. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what you do. Glenn Mills was a 13-year-old failure who failed in the only 100-meter sprint in his life. He came last. Can you imagine if I told you there was a man, a boy like that, and he has trained the biggest sprinter of all time, Usain Bolt, who single-handedly won 9 Olympic gold medals. So before Usain Bolt came about, a goal was born. A goal was inside the mind of a man called Glenn Mills, who says, one day, I'm going to inspire my country to win at least 10 gold medals. He also coached Johan Blake. So between the two of them, they won more than 10 Olympic gold medals. There you go. The man did not have to run himself. The man had to have the vision. The man had to have the foresight, the passion that yes. And it didn't happen overnight, by the way. So when he was 13 and this happened, he started assisting his high school coach as a sub-assistant coach, not even assistant coach, as a third, fourth level coach. He would just go and arrange the cones or, draw the lines, the starting lines, the finish lines. For years, he just did that. He hung around the athletics court, the athletics track. And step by step, things just started moving. It took him 22 years before any of his athletes won their first Olympic medal. But there you go, Glenn Mills still is considered the biggest sprinting coach of all time. So if anybody thinks that, and again, here we have the mindset that I need to be an Asian champion to, coach a world champion archer. If you have, even held the bow once, you would be at par with Glenn Mills. So if you decide that I'm going to be the best archery coach of all time, nobody's going to stop you. You are stopping yourself. So I today encourage you all to be bold, to be super positive in your goal setting. Of course, I'll get to that point later, that it will not happen overnight. So there'll be many failures en route. So today, let me tell you about a little bit more about my story, like setting goals, which is part of rule number 1. So in 2000, I think Revant had mentioned in my intro that I had directed a Bollywood film, directed and produced a Bollywood film, which was released in 2012. It's called Chalo Driver. So when Chalo Driver was released, it turned out to be the biggest box office failure of all time. I have directed and produced the biggest failure of all time in Bollywood. Not the biggest hit, but the biggest failure, biggest flop. This was 2012, July, the day that film released. It crashed at the box office so miserably. There were almost 5 crores and 30 lakh rupees invested in the film. He lost all that money in one day, in 2 hours. It took me 2.5 hours to release the film. In one show, the film was wiped out from cinema halls. One show, gone. Within 6 weeks of the release of the film, my marriage ended. I had to go through divorce. Within 2 months of the release of the film, my friends stopped taking my phone calls because I was in a massive debt situation. Today, I'll just show you our house is getting renovated. So, I can show you that it is in shambles. So there's a lot of construction activity going around, but you largely see empty floors. This was my state 9 years ago. I used to sleep. I only was left with one small quilt and a pillow and a cell phone. That is how my life crashed 9 years ago. And for a year, I went through one humiliation after another. I wrote many scripts, inspirational scripts, tried to meet producers, directors who might be interested in my work. I used to go to auditions, but for a year, nobody gave me any work, and I could not even put food on my table. Things had come to that point. That time, when all doors were closed on me, I came back to Jammu, to where my parents still live, and to my ancestral home. So this is where I restarted and resurrected my journey 9 years ago. The day I came back, I set a goal. I said that I am never going to be negative. That is a goal that I set. My goal was not initially about winning gold medals or doing this or that. I said, what is my most fundamental purpose as a human being? That is, I should not spread any negativity anywhere. I should not criticize or complain or sound bitter towards failure. In fact, I set my goal to become the most super positive person that I could ever meet, so that I felt that I can inspire millions of people in the journey of trying to emerge from failure, from disappointment, from setback. So 9 years ago, I set that goal. I set a 10-year time frame that within 10 years, I'm going to do things that definitely are going to lift me out of this quagmire, but they're going to inspire the world. That was a goal that I set. And then one after the other, I started getting inspirations. Then I set another goal. As Jaswal sir said, I set a goal that I am going to create Guinness World Records in Jammu. Jammu Kashmir, where the youth is so fragmented, I'm going to inspire them to harness their energy in positive pursuits, world-class pursuits. So I started creating one Guinness World Record after another. Despite the system not ostensibly supporting me, because that is how things are, and again, zero complaints. So it was an individual journey, an individual choice. Do I contribute to the negativity of the system, or do I enable the system to flourish? That's a choice. I made the latter choice. I said, I have been born in a country on a motherland which has been the progenitor of the highest level of accomplishment for millennia. Why should I be bogged down by anything? I'm born to uphold my motherland. I'm born to instill more pride in people for our motherland. So I will do things which, whether somebody supports me or not, I'm going to do them nonetheless. That was my goal. That was not my wish. So why am I emphasizing on the word goal again and again? That I'm telling you of a man 9 years ago. And today you're seeing all the Olympic accomplishments. They are a natural progression to that goal setting. So if I had not set that goal, I would have come back a hopeless, disappointed, pessimistic person, and I would have contributed to the pessimism at home and to the pessimism in my city, in my state, and in my country, and in the larger world. What good would I be to anyone? So today, I'll first of all request you, because you're students, your number one goal should be to do self-evaluation and to say, you know what, I resolve to be a super positive human being. That's a goal that will never cost any money, that will never need any outside support or dependency. That is a goal that is self-actualized. If you set that goal, trust me, that itself will become the biggest source, the biggest glacier for your river to emerge. So in line for that, to uplift our nation, because we are here for the most noble cause of nation first, to uphold Bharat. But by being negative in any aspect, we will be demeaning that purpose. We will be lessening that purpose. To amplify that purpose, to strengthen and reinforce that purpose, first of all, each one of us has to weed out the negativity within. Stop complaining. Each one of us is handed a bad card at some point. You call it bad card. I just used it for you to better understand it. But according to me, all cards are good cards. The 4 jokers also, you might just take them out, but they are serving an excellent purpose. An umbilical cord, when a child was born, people used to throw away, and today it's being used for stem cell therapy. Today, from garbage, electricity is being created. So what's a waste? There's nothing untoward. The reason I told you about my failure at the very outset, to tell you that all these accomplishments, the key factor was my goal of being super positive. If it was just a goal of having an achievement, then I would have stopped at 1 Guinness World Record. And on this wall, you'll see a lot of them, and there are many more. So I just have my goal of being infinite, that every day I have to be better for my motherland, for my family, for my city, for the world in general. I just have to be, that's my goal. So set a goal, set a time frame. But getting to more specific goals now, how the Olympic campaign started. In 2018, I was in the US. I was on a 50-state tour. And after I finished that tour, I looked at US the way it was, and I found people in general very motivated, in general talking big and wanting to do big things. I had 2 choices. Do I stay on in the US? So that was my 8th trip. I could have anyway chosen to stay on in the US. I chose that I intend to come back, and I intend to galvanize the thought in my own motherland that, you know what, each one of us has the seed of super motivation, and we don't have to go to the US or UK or anywhere for that matter. We can create world-class excellence, and we must create world-class entities from here. I mean, I find it a little amusing when people tell me that their goal is to have a 6-figure job at an MNC, to go work with Google one day, work with Facebook one day. I mean, I'm sharing with you my honest thought. Fine, why don't we start Google? Why don't we start Facebook? Why don't we start a LinkedIn, a Reddit, whatever? Why do we have to go work? Why do we have to be their CEOs when we can be their progenitors? Why can't we be their founders? It's time that we start looking at setting those goals to be the founder of such a company, not just a CEO. While that is impressive and very inspiring, I respect that. But to me, that is still a smaller level of accomplishment. I'll be much happier the day we start creating those brands, those entities from here. And let Americans come and work here. Let Europeans come and work here. Why do we always have to? I mean, honestly, I sometimes feel that IITs should be opened up in the US. With all the brain drain that we're going to continually keep doing, IITs and IIMs should be set up in the US. If we are going to continually feed the American machine and the European machine, then we should set them up there. But if we are to strengthen Bharat, then we have to set those goals that we have to galvanize and reinforce Bharat here. So that is the first one. I decided that I'm going to come back, and I chose a field where the whole world comes in place, the Olympics. I said, you know what? Over 120 years, India has won 28 medals at the Olympics. While personally, to me, it really doesn't matter, because I think it doesn't matter like, achievement in that sense, a medal or whatever. But in the larger context, when we are sending our players there, when our teams are going there, when our flag is going there, our country's representation is there, then why do we just perform and participate? Why don't we come back with more gold medals? So in 2019, I created a goal, a 10-year goal, so a time frame of enabling India to win 100+ gold medals over the next 10 years at 4 of the biggest competitions globally, which is the Olympics, World Championships, Asian Championships, and Commonwealth. So I identified 4 tournaments, which are the biggest, the most competitive tournaments globally, and to enable India to win 100+ gold medals at these 4 competitions. That is my goal. And that's how I started the Goalie program with the Indian Olympic team. And we saw a little bit, a tip of the iceberg at the Tokyo Olympics, when this was India's best ever performance. I met Neeraj the day he had his elbow surgery back in May 2019. I was with him just when he emerged from his operating room. And, we met at the Hilton. And his right arm, his throwing arm, was strapped in an elbow. And there were serious doubts inside him whether he'll be able to ever play again, whether he'll be able to ever throw a javelin again. So, that time for months, we had these intensive sessions where I just kept inspiring him to set that goal, the visualization of throwing that javelin or winning that gold at the Tokyo Olympics. I said, you're going to do it. The whole universe is going to work in their favor if you set that goal and hold on to that goal. It's not just a coincidence that the gold medal was sealed for Bharat at the Olympics. Ravi Daya, the athlete who I've been mentoring for 2.5 years. So when I met Ravi again in May 2019 at the Chhatrasal Stadium in Delhi, Ravi's goal was to qualify for the Olympics, which I'll tell you because I know the 360-degree of the Indian Olympic ecosystem. Our goal still now, whether it's coaches or even the support staff, the federations, was that we'll send the maximum numbers to the Olympics. I said, if the goal is to be an Olympian and to go and qualify for the Olympics, how are you going to even get there? You have to set the goal of the Olympic gold. We have to go for the maximum. Let us go for the peak of the Everest. Why do we say that I'll go only to the 8,000 meters, or 8,200 of the final base camp? Why not the peak? Why else are you climbing in the first place? Is it to get a more secure government job or get a promotion at work? If that is your goal, then you are already limiting yourself. So Ravi created that goal, and now it's in front of the nation. When Ravi won the silver medal at the Olympics, many of you would have noticed there wasn't that happiness inside him. This is actually a game changer in Indian sport. First time an Indian athlete says, I'm not happy with the silver. From the Olympics, by the way. From the Olympics. An Olympic silver medal is not a small achievement by any stretch of imagination. And that too, at his first Olympics. He's the only second wrestler in India's 125-year history to win a silver medal at the Olympics. Sushil Kumar won at his third Olympics. Ravi did it at his first. Still, he was not happy. Why? Because it's not discontent, but it is because you really are chasing the gold. And then when he called me after that, I told him, Ravi, that's precisely the point. If you were not chasing the gold, you would not have won the silver. If you were chasing an Olympic medal, you would have been happy with an Olympic qualification. If you were chasing an Olympic qualification, you wouldn't have even qualified. So the key is that setting a goal and setting a time frame is super important. In 2.5 years, the athletes that I'm working with, that I'm motivating, they have won 6 gold medals for the country amongst these 3 competitions out of 4, World Championships, Olympics, and the Asian Commonwealth is going to happen next year. Now, over the next almost 8 years, we still have 94 gold medals to cover. I'm not counting the medals. I'm not counting any other color except the gold. So I'm not counting Ravi's silver medal because my goal is gold. So I know 100+ medals will anyway come. I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at 100 golds, 100+ golds. 2029, the mandate is clear. I know we will do it. So the key is anybody, and I have to tell you, I'm not a competitive sports person. I'm not a psychologist. When I first shared this proposal with all the Olympic federations and the national federations, the Olympic committee, people laughed at me. They said, you're not a psychologist. You're not even a competitive sports person. How are you going to engage people who at the highest level of their craft, a world #1 boxer, a world #1 wrestler, a weightlifter, a shooter, an archer, how are you going to engage them? I said, I'm a goalie. Give me one chance. Nobody gave me a chance. One gentleman from the Army Sports Institute, Colonel Rakesh Yadav, I have the highest respect for him. He called me when he read my proposal. He said, Vikrant, I see some conviction in your proposal. I know that you're not a psychologist or an ex-sports person, but something within tells me that you will do it. So come to my institute, talk to my athletes. I open it to you. I went there. We had this amazing session, and I promised him over 20 years, Army Sports Institute, which is Indian Army's biggest Olympic training sports institute in our country, had not won any Olympic medal over 20 years. I said, sir, all the energy and the goalie energy we're creating here, mark my words, sir, this year Army Sports Institute is certainly going to get an Olympic gold medal, not just a medal, a gold medal. And you'll be happy to know that Neeraj Chopra is from the Army Sports Institute, and we won our first Olympic gold medal for the Army Sports Institute and the Indian Army as well. The power of goal. And then once Colonel Rakesh Yadav got me my first start, then he introduced me to the national boxing camp, the national weightlifting camp, and so on and so forth. Things organically developed. Where did it start? Can anybody sum up for me? Where did my journey?
So,
Can anybody recount where my journey started?
It started when you read the inspirational book.
Started when I read the inspirational book at the age of
13.
11.
11, sir. 11 or 13.
13.
So, yeah, almost 12. So the point is that is the genesis, and the Olympic journey started when one day I was coming back from the US. I decided that I'm going to lift the Indian sporting ecosystem and consequently the Indian mindset that any of us, we don't have to wear badges. I don't wear a uniform. I'm just a normal, ordinary citizen of our country, a very normal, average citizen of our country. There's nothing exceptional about me. Even I can contribute to my nation if I make it my goal, if I become a goalie. So my request today to each one of you is, when you release, when this engagement is over, please walk away knowing that once you become a goalie, there isn't any limit to what you can accomplish for our motherland. Rule #1 will be to set a goal. Rule #2 will be to sacrifice a weakness and link it with your goal. So I'll tell you, when I started the Olympic campaign, because this is in direct context to what I'm sharing, I said, I believe a lot in Tyaga. I believe a lot, like a havan is purified by the ghee you pour into the havan, into the yagya. Without the ghee, the havan will not be fully sanctified. So without the ghee of sacrifice, sacrificing your base tendencies, you will not accomplish anything exceptional in life. Now I'll tell you, because I'm a goalie, when I was small, my mother made me do a sankalpa that I will never touch liquor in my life. I will never smoke. I don't even drink tea or coffee. So I didn't have many good habits to leave. So there was very little to leave, actually. I'm not very fond of shopping or, so live largely a monastic monk's life. So I looked at myself, what is it that I'm fond of, really, really fond of? Really, what is still my temptation? So I put a microscope on myself. I found out, because I'm from the north, very fond of parathas. Every time, every meal, I used to eat a paratha. So I decided that till the Tokyo Olympics are over, I am going to give up all grain, all anaj, which is roti, rice, and any form of anaja, any form of grain. Now that is my personal sacrifice. I wanted to give up. With Ravi, Deepak Punia, the other athlete I very closely work with, He was India's first ever world #1 heavyweight wrestler. Again, a beautiful accomplishment, the junior world champion in 2019. I've been mentoring him since before that. Deepak, when I met him, he used to be addicted to a game called PUBG, which, as many of my youth friends here are aware of, has become quite an addiction, or did become quite an addiction. So I told Deepak he was going for the Junior Wrestling World Championship in Estonia 3 months later. I said, Deepak, because of the PUBG, you're sleeping late, your recovery is being compromised. So you're not performing at your best. Here's what you're going to do. Your goal is to win the gold medal for the country at the Wrestling World Championship 3 months later. Give up all social media and give up all video games. Stay away from social media and your phone as much as you can, except your phone calls. That's it. Friends, you'll be very happy to know he did that. He followed it to the T, and 3 months later, he became the junior world champion. And 2 months later, you'll be even happier to know that Deepak had gone to the Senior Wrestling World Championship in Kazakhstan. Deepak was the only wrestler among 30 who reached the finals and came back with the highest medal for India, the power of sacrifice. If he had continued to play PUBG, or if he had continued to be on Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat and what have you, he would still be doing well, maybe, who knows? But given Deepak's form when I met him, chances are very slim that he would have done that. So most people, when they set goals, they don't have the discipline to follow through with a sacrifice. A sacrifice, as Gohasaran had said earlier, about focus. So what gives you focus is when you have given it the Agni, the fire of sacrifice. Gold is purified by burnishing, or metallurgy, when you put it in that furnace, when you put that metal in the furnace. So similarly, your goal, when you link it with any of your weakness. For example, are you spending too much time on social media? Can you give up social media till you achieve one of your goals? Maybe your 1 year goal, perhaps, scoring a certain percentage at this year's annual exam. Give up all social media. Try it. There isn't any harm. It is going to teach you the power of focus and discipline. Try it. With every athlete, Ravi Daya, Neeraj, or Lovelina, all the athletes that I've worked with, I've always got them to give up something in pursuit of that lofty goal. The biggest thing to give up is your anger and your own negativity. If you can even, if you don't want to give up anything material, you can give up one of your habit weaknesses, your character weaknesses. You say, okay, you know what? Till I accomplish this goal, I am not going to shout at anyone. There you go. You've given up something. You've given up one of your weaknesses. So go within, identify that weakness, and give it up today. Rule number 3, I'll keep rolling because we have a certain time mandate. Otherwise, I'm known to give long speeches. My first world record was 48 hours, 31 minutes, non-stop. So I can engage you for that long, but I must compress my content in the next 10 minutes, 15 max. So rule number 3. Rule number 3 is train every day and try to improve every day. Now imagine an athlete. You've set a goal. You're a Natiion Chopra. You've set a goal. You've given up something. Okay? You've given up sweets. That's your weakness. So you decide to give it up. But you don't go for training every day. You don't go to the field. Do you think you're ever going to accomplish that goal? Now, this is where the fun part comes in. The more meaning part, the juicy part, training. Every day, you've got to approach your training with the intent of improvement, that I'm going to become better today than I was yesterday. Better and better and better forevermore. Today, we all use smartphones, most of us. So we never want to use a phone that was like 5 years ago. Like an iPhone 3, an iPhone, 1, an iPhone 2. We don't want to use that. We all want to use our iPhone 12 Pros or iPhone 11, iPhone 12. We want to use the latest ones because they are upgraded. They are improved versions of the ancestor phone. We want to, when we drive our cars on the roads, we always want to drive on a better road, better metal road, or we want to drive better cars on better roads. So we are very, very generous with our expectations when it comes to technology. But when it comes to expecting improvement from ourselves, we are very frugal. We don't want to improve. We want the system to improve. We want infrastructure to improve. We want gadgets to improve. But what about us? So friends, I have to tell you, when 9 years ago, I created the goal of super positivity. For 2 years, I did not actually even give any gyan to anyone. I just put a microscope and I identified that there are 150 positive qualities in every human. There should be. There's a total of 150 positive qualities. I devoted my time and energy to try to develop those 150 positive qualities. Because I said, before I speak to anyone about super positivity, I have to have every positive quality. So I tried to keep improving, and even till date, I mean, that was the functional part, but today's the excellence part. I try to excel in those qualities. I try to improve every day in my engagements, in the way I am as a son with my parents. So every day is my intent. I live with my parents. Every day it's my intent to press their feet before they sleep, to share every meal with them, or to share the first morsel with them. So I'm trying to improve. I'm not sharing this with you to try to make myself more glorified, but just to share my process with you, that the intent to improve has to be infinite. If you stop anywhere, then that's like stagnating water. It will start to fester. In order to contribute to our motherland, to become brides of Bharata, and to make Bharata the pride of your mind, like it always deserves to be, each one of us has to improve. We can't expect, a nebulous system, what we call system, to improve, because the system is made of you and I. Each one of us is the system. So when somebody else is talking of the system, please note that they're talking of us. When somebody says the system is not working, that means they're talking about all of us. And when I say the system is not working, I'm talking about all of you. So that means we are all a part of the system. If you and I don't improve every day, and especially in line with the goals that we've set, if your goal is to become a writer, you will not become a writer just by contemplating about writing. I've written 34 books. I'm sorry. In my introduction, it was said that I've written 3 books. I've written 34 books. And each of those books has come about because I write for at least 2 hours every day, whichever part of the world I am. So allotting 2 hours to concentrated, intensive, world-class training every day. That's a key. So if you're preparing for an exam, a competitive exam, or a music recital, or a sporting event, or life in general, I find it very, very amusing that again I talk entities and things, but I didn't even touch upon improving as a human being. We don't even devote 2 minutes to improving as a human being every day. How often do you sit just for 5 minutes in contemplation and look at yourself and say like, wow, what have I done before you sleep every night? What have I done today? How many people have I hurt today? How many offensive words have I used today? Or how much good have I done today? How many people have I inspired today? That's training, right? So why do we even look at training as mechanical training? But some mechanics have to be at work. Why not metaphysical training? It's not just physical training, the metaphysical is important as well. So work on your metaphysics as well, simultaneous and in tandem with your physical training. So, rule number 3, whatever your goal is, try to devote at least 2 hours every day to try to improve in that. Rule number 4, stay super positive throughout the pursuit of that goal. Now, when I set that goal of the Olympic campaign, and after I wrote the Go Lead program, I wrote and I shared it with everyone. You would have imagined that that they came up to me and they would have said, come, we are waiting for you. And you know what? Let's just start this. It took me 4 months of waiting. I sent out 54 letters to all the national federations in our country, the Sports Authority, the Olympic Association, everyone. I just heard from one man who I already shared with you, Colonel Rakesh Yadav. I received 53 rejections. But did I get disappointed? Did I get affected? Did I give in to that failure? Ravi Dahiya, before he won the Olympic silver medal, I must share with you that 6 months prior at the World Cup in Siberia, he lost in the first round a most comprehensive defeat to an unknown wrestler 6 months before the Olympics. Failure, setback. Every goalie's journey is littered with 4 things, 4 challenges. Challenge number 1 is doubt. There'll be so many doubts. Can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? Contingency. Everybody's goal was last year Tokyo Olympics. What happened? We all know. First time in the history of the Olympics, they were postponed. It wasn't anybody's fault, but contingency can, any event, any eventuality can occur. Number 3, disappointment, failure. It's going to be a constant soulmate of every goalie. Anybody who expects not to meet with failure and only sail through a successful trajectory is setting themselves up for disaster. Because how can you meet the sun without going through the night? You have to go through darkness to meet illumination. So overcoming disappointment. And number 4, exhaustion. Now I've set a 10-year roadmap, and every day I motivate 25 of our finest athletes in the country from morning to night. And many of them still lose. They will still lose at events. Some of them become injured. Some of them get unwell. Some of them don't get selected. They don't sometimes make the team. What do? That is where, you constantly keep looking at your goal. When your goal is so big, when you have to scale Mount Everest, how can you stop at the base camp? You can't. You'll get frostbite if you just stay there. You just got to keep scaling, however cold it is. So the bigger the goal, the bigger the challenge, but then the bigger the motivation as well. The smaller the goal, the lower the motivation and the lower the growth. So stay super positive. My mantra for super positivity is 4 words. Yes, thank you, universe. So that's the super positivity mantra. I say this all the time. I've been doing this for 8 years. So first I say yes to every moment. Whether it's a success or a failure, I say yes. Like champions, when you win, yes. So before the event happens, I say yes. I'm setting that energy. Thank you. I'm being grateful for the very pursuit, for the very journey. Universe. I'm thanking all Srishti, Samasta, Prakriti, Brahmanda. I'm invoking the beginning, it was so beautiful. We started with invocation. And now invoking energy of the universe constantly. I'm not bogged down by any failure, any setback, any disappointment. I just keep telling myself, yes, thank you, universe. Yes, this is going to happen. Yes, yes. It is estimated that an average person says the word no 108 times a day. An average person says the word yes only 11 times a day. 10 times more no. No, nay. Where is achievement going to come? Saraswati was, my Nani used to say, Saraswati का वास हमारी जुबान पर होता है, जो हम बोलते हैं एक दिन होता है. So saying yes, hoga, yes. I mean, before anybody believed in my journey, I believed. Hoga, ek din hum 100 gold medals jeetenge India ke liye. In this room, I saw this dream. And it has started to happen. Yes. Thank you. Already saying thank you before it's happening. And universe. So remember much from this whole Goli program, it is that anytime you meet with failure or disappointment, if you get into the habit of saying this at least 100 times every day, an average person, I told you, says yes 10 to 11 times. If you already saying yes 100 times, yes, 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 like a mantra, imagine the positive energy that will be unleashed. That is the secret, the usher of accomplishment. Finally, coming to rule number 5, which is once you've done rule number 1, 2, 3, 4, it will automatically lead you to rule number 5. But before we get there, let's do a recap of the first 4 rules. Rule number 1 is, can anybody count it for us? What's rule number 1 of the Goli program?
Set a positive goal.
Set a positive goal.
And a time frame. Brilliant. Brilliant. Excellent. Rule number 2.
Sacrifice.
Sacrifice. Yes. Sacrifice your weakness and link it with your goal. Rule number 3.
Try to improve yourself.
Every day. It could be a monthly improvement, but a goal lead has to go through daily improvement. So try to train every day and improve every day. Excellent. Rule number 4.
Stay super positive.
Throughout the goal. You know, there were 7 world number 1 players who competed for India at the Tokyo Olympics. And I have to tell you a fact which doesn't make me very proud. None of them won a single medal at the Olympics. Should I tell you the reason behind that? And I've written about that in my book, Goliath, with all due respect to everyone, because they gave into negativity. They started tweeting. Somebody said, I haven't got my physio with me. Somebody said, I'm not getting my coach. Somebody said, conditions are not right. This is not right. This is not right. This is not right. Not right, not right, not right. Negative. Ravi Dahiya and Deepak Punia were stranded 1 month before the Olympics in a small hotel in Poland for an entire month without any training because their visa to Russia could not be organized because COVID was at its peak at that time. This is June 2021. And you can actually trace their social media posts, not a single shred of negativity from them. Ravi and Deepak both went on to create history. Deepak, in his own way, he reached the semifinals. Ravi, everybody knows. Neeraj, even after he's won, such a humble boy, sensitive boy, not even a shred of negativity anywhere. Very important thing to know. Finally, fulfill rule number 5, fulfill the goal, complete the goal, and set a new one. So the goal has goals and then more goals and then more goals. So rule number 5 itself tells us once you complete your goal, then you instantaneously, organically set a new one. I was chasing the goal of 100 Guinness World Records in 1 year in Jammu. When I completed that, I set a new goal of 100 plus gold medals for the country at the biggest sports competitions. One goal leads to a bigger goal and then to a bigger goal. This put together, these 5 fingers form the fist of a goalie. And once you become a goalie, once you set a goal, then where there is a goal, there is always a way. People say where there is a will, there is always a way. I say where there is a goal, there is always a way. So yes, thank you, universe. I intended to complete 10 minutes prior, but feeding off the energy of you all. And now I think we have time for question answers. So I must pause my content with you because this is all that I have. But now, any questions you have or anything you want to add to it, all are most welcome to ask me.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. That was such a pumped up session for all of us. As you very rightly mentioned, negativity is the progenitor of all ailments. So let us all take away those bad vibes, push ourselves how much ever possible, love ourselves. And the only message I have for people out here is that give yourself that thrust to achieve whatever you're destined to, whatever the passion is. And let sky be your limit. Be super positive and be a goal, as he very rightly said.
Thank you, Sushruta. And we owe it to our country. We owe it to our motherland. That we have to. I mean, I always look at mother and all the sacrifices that she's made for me. So in the same vein, I look at my nation, all the sacrifices that have been made for us. But what are we doing in return? Through a small expanding our horizons, each one of us will uplift our nation. So this is for our nation. Yes. Questions, anything?
So I know a lot of you would be eager to interact with Vikrant sir, but I would like to reiterate that please put your questions in the chat box, and I would also like to introduce a moderator. We have with us Guha. He's a student from Vidya Mandir, Chennai. He has a passion towards quizzing, trekking, reading books, and also takes a keen interest in current affairs and politics. He also happens to be a state-level table tennis player. So I request Guha to guide and moderate this Q&A session.
So, sir, thank you for that speech. So now we do have a couple of questions here. So I'd like to get it started. The first question is, sir, you are an author and a motivation speaker, right? So which do you think is more impactful? Let's say in motivating a person or a group of people, which is more impactful?
Excellent question, Guhasaran. So I'll ask you a question. Between a glacier and a river, what do you think is more impactful?
Sir, I'd say river, because river can be used at that point of time, but glacier has to melt to make it into water.
You said it. So writing was that glacier. Writing books has been my glacier, and river is the motivational journey that I'm on. So I call myself a motivator, not a motivational speaker, because speaking still many people can do, but a motivator has to set an example and then live that example and improve that example. So that is something which I embrace in all humility as my most enjoyable vocation. Thank you.
So next question, you did mention that you were the motivator for Deepak Punia and Neeraj Chopra. But the question here is, how is it different from motivating individual and the team as such? Let's say the cricket team or hockey team, for example. How is it different?
Excellent. Again, Guhasaran, so I must refer to my stint with the national wrestling team to Kazakhstan in 2019 as an example. So I went there as the team motivator. I was not there, motivating one specific athlete, but there are three entities within that team: Greco-Roman, women's freestyle, and men's freestyle. So 10 wrestlers from all those teams, plus the coaches, support staff, and the sports managers and the physios. All in all, we were a team of around 50 people. So my whole vision to them, my whole goal for them was that this has to be the finest World Wrestling Championship for our country, because the year before the Olympics is the toughest sporting is trying to qualify from there. So the level of intensity, because you're in sports, is amplified many times at that World Championship. So to get even a single medal is so difficult. And then India, for the first time in that, the goal was to come in the top 10 and became 9th. That was the first time ever that happened. And 4 direct Olympic qualifications, which had never happened for India before this. So that is how motivated we were as a team. It didn't matter who won that medal or who qualified. The goal was that we as a unit have to do it. Now, when I'm speaking with, for example, Ravi Daya, when I'm mentoring him one-on-one, then my whole fidelity is to inspire him, because this is an individual sport. So within the larger context of Team India, we have to engage individuals to excel in individual sport as well, so that ultimately the larger team benefits. So the vision always has to be for the larger team, but within that, you have to engage individuals
Absolutely right.
and individual athletes.
Can I also, Gohasran, can I also speak if you don't mind?
Yes,
I
yes,
don't know
yeah,
how to type. Can I?
Sure.
Thank you so much. Sorry, I'm breaking the protocol. I do not know how to type a question and all that. Firstly, Mr. Vikrant, really proud of you. My salutations to you. I have a lot of connections with Jammu. Otherwise, half my service I've served in J&K. I have certain submissions, no question per se. Just submissions. One is that in your journey, when you set the goal, self-actualization, that is your own potential, I think that's extremely important, because till the time you do not carry out self-actualization, you cannot ride the path of growth. That is one. Two, positivity has been delved upon in this speech of yours a number of times, and absolutely fine. You see, that spirit has to be there. I can do it. I can do it. If that spirit is not there, there'll be blurring in your aim and the goal you set for achievement. The unfortunate part, especially in sports, is the values at times get compromised in your journey towards success. Now, values, personal, interactive values with others, your win should not be at the cost of someone else. You cannot lose your basic values. That's extremely important if you are actually a sports person. Mid-course corrections are extremely important. I'll quote my personal example. Sorry, taking my personal example. I never got a chance to shoot while in service. I was a very good shooter. So I set a goal. I'm going to win a gold at the national level in double trap. That's a discipline which Colonel Rajwardhan shoots. In 2012, I won the gold medal. And unfortunately, the previous evening, I had a vertigo attack. So the first two stations itself, I was aiming, first bird I will get, the second skeet, the bird rather. There was a certain amount of blurring because of vertigo. I looked back, my wife was sitting in the gallery. She just gave me thumbs up, don't worry. And I focused, I said, the first bird I must get. Now, this is a mid-course correction. Second, if I get, it's a bonus. Fortunately, I started hitting both and I set a new national record. So mid-course corrections are extremely important. And you see, you may achieve the goal, you may not be able to achieve the goal, but there is an old saying. When a scorer comes, he sees not the number of goals you've scored, but the game you have played. That game cannot be compromised, come what may. There may be a failure, but your endeavor, the game is your endeavor. That cannot be compromised at any stage. Failures will keep coming up when you set an aim. I, for one, I look at failure as a redirection. I don't say that I failed. I said, okay, I've achieved this much. I have the potential, and I set a new course to achieve the aim. So take failure as a redirection and not as a failure. Third is, I think this is, I shouldn't use the word typical of the modern day society, that we give up very fast. You put an endeavor, you give it up. Most of the mountaineers, they say never give up. It can happen that you are just about 5 meters short of Everest. There's a very heavy blizzard. You cannot see the apex of Everest, just 5 meters away. And you say, no, it's impossible. And you give up. Had you endeavored, 5 meters was nothing. They would have achieved the Everest. So never give up. The culmination has to be conclusion. You have to culminate your vision with which you started. These were some of my submissions. Of course, I'm really proud to hear your speech. And I think you're really fantastic in motivation. My salutations to you. Pardon me, Gursaran, for breaking
no
the
problem,
protocol. Sir. Sorry, because I do not know how to type.
No problem.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, so beautifully, so insightfully, and so substantively shared. And whatever Sir has shared, each one of you must make a very emphatic note of it, especially as Sir spoke about mid-course corrections. So in the pursuit of long-term goals especially, that will keep happening all the time. All the time. But gotta be prepared for it. But your vision has to be to complete your goal nonetheless, because without that, you'll not be a goalie. You'll not be accomplishing rule number 4, rule number 5. You'll not be a complete goalie. You'll just be a journeyman or a journeywoman. Yes. Any other questions?
Yes, sir. We do have another question. So we know about IQ and EQ, that is the intellectual quotient and the emotional quotient. How do you think it will be useful to have something called the positivity quotient?
Excellent. So PQ would be, in my book, the progenitor. So you could even rephrase positivity as progenitor, because like I again spoke about the glacier, every water body has to have a source. There has to be a source from which it starts. Positivity is your feeling. Positivity is the intent. Now imagine, like I told you, when I came back to Jammu from Mumbai after the failure of my film, and with the whole life as I knew it collapsed around me, all I had was my positivity, nothing else. Nothing else. And then from positivity, I took it to super positivity, where I said, now this is going to be my only strength. I don't need any other apparatus. So positivity is when you believe in infinity. Now, if I were to ask you, you go to an ocean and you take drops from anywhere, any stretch of the ocean. Would those drops not belong to the ocean?
They do.
Those drops would be part of the ocean, right?
Yes.
Would they not have the same properties everywhere, regardless of where you pick them up from? So we, human species, are part of the same universe in which billions of stars. NASA says there is estimated 20 billion trillion stars in the sky, 3 followed by 22 zeros, estimated in the observable universe. So much creation, so much creativity. Can you not tap like a centillion of that? Even if we tap a centillion of that, the sun, all the energy needs of humanity and planet Earth, the sun has fulfilled in less than 1 hour of its existence. The sun has been existing for 4.6 billion years. Has it been wasting all that energy? Why has it been wasting all that energy? If I use the word waste, because the universe is infinite. Where is which? Keep setting lofty goals, big goals, keep chasing them. You will learn something. Not everybody fulfills, which is absolutely fine. My goal was what? The film. See, draw the pattern. I drew the pattern for you. Now you connect the dots. Did I fulfill that goal? That goal is still incomplete. But I moved on to much more meaningful goals. Some goals will have to be dropped. That's okay. But they will lead to better, bigger goals, more significant goals.
So, sir, last 2 questions, sir, since we don't have much time. There is this question asked by one person in the chat box. Are any internship programs available so that they can interact with you and learn more about this?
Yeah, so there's my website, superpositivity.org, www.superpositivity.org. If you go to that website, that's my home website, on which there's all the programs and the platforms and the verticals of super positivity movement. So, has started Super Positivity Club, a Super Positivity Concert, Super Positivity Festival, a Super Positivity School, which is a free online one-year program on Super Positivity. Anybody can subscribe. It's actually a week-to-week, 52-week program. I would not be personally there, but that's a class, online class in a school, which I've designed for posterity. So people don't have to come to me. You can go to that, learn from that. Because with all due respect, I'm just one small individual, and I do have fair amount of endeavors to attend to. So much as I would love to, but individually now, my energies are going to athletes and to people who are serving Bharata directly. So whether it's Team India athletes or service people. So I'm extremely sorry that I won't be able to conduct any one-to-one or even smaller mentorship programs for now. But let's see how it turns out in future. But if you go to superpositivity.org, you will find all my content that I've created over the past 9 years there. Some of it might be of use to you. That's my hope. Yes.
So, sir, there's another interesting question here. A person says, if a flower is not blooming, then you fix the environment, not the flower. But as people here, we don't get the chance to fix our environment. So, how do you think we must adapt to those situations?
So, that is precisely, I am the answer to that question. I won't give the answer to that question. I am the answer to that question. That, growing up in a milieu where everybody's talking terrorism all the time, where everybody's talking, let's say, not the most uplifting things all the time. So how do you still keep yourself galvanized? How do you keep reaffirming the vision for infinity? So, I'm not exceptional. And once again, I say, this is not my talent. Talent is good. Talent is great. But there's something called intent. There's something called passion. Anybody can create that passion like that. So rather than complain about the system and say, you know what, I also want to do all this and I have to do all that. And there were so many things I was deprived of while I was growing up. And I've stopped that chapter altogether. I've closed that chapter and I've reopened a new book. I write a new book now. If I don't like a chapter from my book, what's stopping me from writing a new one? I am stopping myself. So to say that none of us can impact the environment, or we don't have the power to impact the environment, then we're not being Goliaths. By a Goliath simply means that each one of us has that power. Now, Vivekananda was not born a Vivekananda. He was not born enshrined on a throne. He chose consciously, voluntarily, that journey. He toiled on that journey. When he went to Chicago, he knew, and many of you would know what challenges he went through. So this is not on any path. A Buddha was a Goliath. You have to understand, till a Buddha, he invests 6 years of his life in trying to attain enlightenment. It eludes him. Then a Buddha creates a goal one day. He says, I'm going to sit under this tree and only get up after I have attained the truth. That's a Goliath. Who's to say a Goliath has to be about a material pursuit or a material acquisition? A Goliath in the truest sense is about self-actualization, is about infinity actualization manifested in the self. So when we say self, again, that's limiting, straitjacketing. Infinity actualization manifested in the self, expressed in the outer self. And then that expression is in the outer self. So to say that I am born to uplift the world is a goal that any of us can make, all of us must make. Because only then become holistic, congenial, and so much more deserving of our future generations. We owe it to them. I mean, I feel I owe it to all of you. Why am I walking on this path? And I'm once again very grateful to Muraliji, to Raviji, for enabling me this opportunity. I started my super positivity campaign from my own school, where I studied in November 2013. So, super positivity movement, 90% I shared with students, because you all are the future, and then you all will be the present to another future. So we are links in the chain. So if you think that any of us thinks that we don't have the power to impact, not to change. So from today, remove the word change. We don't need to change anything. We need to. I mean, why do I want to change myself? Like, while I was in the fashion fraternity, I even then used to look at the superficiality of the fairness creams that they used to advertise. Said this and all our top film stars used to be part of that promotional bandwagon. And in the same vein of the thumbs ups and the Coca-Colas of the world, like for money, what are you doing? Like really, what are you doing? Why would anyone want to change their complexion? I've yet to understand. Why has this been instilled into our psyche that you should look a certain way or be a certain way? I mean, a Martin Luther King didn't have to be a certain complexion, or a Nelson Mandela didn't have to be a certain complexion. They just had to be a certain level of a Goliath. If you become that Goliath, then whoever has respectfully asked this question from today will start giving that answer to the world by becoming that Goliath. And if there's any other question, I'm available for 5 more minutes. If anybody.
Sir, I think the answer to this environment question was actually summarized by Mr. Jaswal in his submissions. As he said, he changed his goal in the middle of his problem. That was basically the essence of his answer. And the last question, sir. The name of the program is Nation First, or Pride of Bharat. So what is the first thing which comes to your mind when you hear Nation First?
So the first thing that comes to my being, my consciousness, before it comes to my mind, is that Bharata always represented and exemplified, was emblematic of the highest level of positive energy. Right from our philosophy to yoga, to all that we give in the world, in astronomy, in every firmament, it started and was fostered by positive energy. So when I think of Nation First, and since this is my individual interpretation, so I don't see it in a sense of superiority, like a Hitler had. For example, a Nation First to a Hitler would mean different to a Nation First to me. A Nation First to me means a first among equals, whereby we stand up for all the highest ideals for humanity. We stand up for the highest level of excellence in all human endeavors. We stand up for the highest in technology, like we always were. I mean, it's not like we've become technologists now. We were technologists thousands of years ago. So to reclaim that, but to enable the whole world to benefit from that, is personally my interpretation of Nation First. A nation which is first in its positive energy, because that, I say, is the precursor and the fount of everything else.
So, sir, I think that's it from my end. Thank you for answering all the questions, sir. It's over to the host now.
Thank you so much, Vikrant sir, for answering all the questions patiently. I hope everybody got their answers. We're sorry if we couldn't answer some questions in particular. And also, thank you, Guha, for seamlessly handling this session. And now we are reaching the very end of this program. All that bustle must halt. All that advance must wait. All that begins must end. Gratitude is the fairest blossom that springs from the soul. Every celebration is an experience, and this program today was nothing short of a celebration. Let's welcome Akshaya Murthy, who's studying 12th from Nairobi International School, to deliver the vote of thanks. Over to you, Akshaya.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, wow. I'm so proud to do this vote of thanks here on this day. As we all are aware that success is not a series of small wins. Strive for progress, not perfection. A wise person once told me not to think about the outcome. Work for the outcome and look at your progress. By this, I mean if you fail once or twice, make sure you come back stronger. And Mr. Vikrant sir, I will not forget the super positivity mantra from today. And from now onwards, I will always keep in my mind, yes, thank you, universe. If hard work, effort, and determination are present, your perspective towards anything will change as you will start developing a growth mindset. This means that we can always look at failures as a stepping stone and never giving up. Namaste, good afternoon, and Jambo to the Honorable Chief Guest, Vikrant Sir, ladies and gentlemen, and all my dear friends. It gives me immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks for this event to all the dignitaries present. With reverence, I owe my sincere gratitude to the Almighty God. Due to His blessings and grace, this program has become a huge success. On behalf of Pride of Bharat and Mr. Murali Subramanian, I am honored to express gratitude towards everyone who participated from various parts of the world and made this program a great one. I would like to thank Vikrant sir for the beautiful and inspiring speech that he gave amidst his tight schedule. Thank you, sir, for those wonderful words. Your concepts of super positivity and go elite are very much useful to all the students present here. I personally was super inspired by those words. I would also like to appreciate all of the students who were involved in the program. Special thanks to Kirtana, Gayatri, Sharanya, Varun, Revant Bhaskar, and Sai Samiksha for being part of this wonderful program. You all were outstanding. I also extend my thanks to Guhasaran and Sushrita Bharadwaj for hosting the entire program beautifully. Thanks, Guhasaran, once again for moderating the Q&A. It was indeed very informative and inspiring. In addition, thanks to Vikrant ji for answering all of the questions nicely and patiently. Ms. Murli Subramanian would also like to convey his special thanks to Malika Ganga Kedkar ji for introducing Vikrant ji to him. We are immensely thankful to Sri Ravi Kumar ji, Chief Mentor of Pride of Bharat, for his wonderful initiatives of counseling and inspiring young minds. Before I conclude, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to every single person who is graciously present here and their contribution towards the program. Thank you once again and hope you have a great day and a great year ahead. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Akshaya, for your kind words. Let us all give a pleasant end to this electrifying session by listening to Vande Mataram by Sai Samiksha, who is a BCom student of Mount Carmel College, Bangalore. She has been pursuing classical music for the past 7 years and have completed a junior grade.
Thank you so much, Sai Samiksha. You really did take the patriotism in us a level up. And thank you everyone for joining us today. I had such a great experience and hope you all did too. Thank you so much and see you soon for another such fantastic program in the coming months. Also, since Vikrant sir's team is leaving for the Wrestling World Championship in Norway, we wish all the best to the team from our side and we hope you make India proud again. Thank you, one and all.
Thanks, Sushil.
Vikrantji, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Really, we all of us enjoyed. Thank you very much. And I know you are in a hurry to leave now. Thank you very much, and wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Jai Hind, sir.
Vikrantji, it was a great program.
Thank you. Thank you. That was my
I'm
goal. I
traveling,
came
but
as a goal lead.
I was listening.
I came as a goal lead, so I had to do it. Thank you.
Wonderful, Vikrant.
Thank you.
You have created a lot of goal in this group also.
The best for a complete render.
Thank you, sir.
That was electric.
That was the intent.
You may have to come back again to see how
I'm always
your
there. Okay, so
Sishyas
this
are progressing.
I assure you, sir, I assure you, Ravji, and everyone, that for Bharata, I am forevermore available and everybody knows this. So this is my service to my country. It's not like anything special that I'm doing. This is my duty and my responsibility to my nation. So thank you forevermore. But next time I'm seeing you, I'm seeing bullets. I'm not just seeing an audience. So we won't just be talking, then we'll be talking about how your goalie journey has happened. Now you know the framework. From now on, you will continue to strengthen the framework. So thank you. Thank you once again.
We promise you that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Jaswalji, thanks a lot for your presence
Thank you so
here.
much. Thank
And
you.
it was wonderful. Though you had little issues in the beginning, but thank you very much. You really joined, and then your views were fantastic. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Very motivating. I'm sure some of my students are I'm sure they will find it very interesting.
We can't.
They will all become goalies.
Yeah. You have to be a little louder, madam.
Oh, you can hear me?
No, we can't hear
the
you
mic
properly.
nearer, little more nearer. Keep the mic little more nearer.
Can you hear me now? Am I audible?
Very
audible?
Yeah, now.
Yes, now.
Yeah, good. Thank you, Vikrant ji. That was lovely. As you know, Neeraj Chopra and many others were from the DAV clan. Also, they did in DAV Chandigarh and other DAV schools. So we are part of the DAV group. So very honored to have you mentoring our students also and make India proud. Some of my students have also joined today's session. I'm sure they'll all be athletes with goals and normal people who have goals to set in life. And your idea of sacrifice was very, very inspiring. I just want children to reflect upon this, that they should sacrifice something that they love most. And that is how they reach their goal. Thank you so much. It was very inspiring.
I must convey my thanks to all the members who really, who participated today. starting from prayer till Vande Mataram, everyone did a wonderful job. All of them are students and they did an excellent job. Thanks a lot. And I talked to each and every one of you separately afterwards.
Murliji, anybody who wants to participate in future program, they should put their phone numbers, email address.
Yeah. Yeah, they can contact us or contact their principals, head of the institutes, or whoever or they can directly write to me also.
ते बाहेर घालून टाक काय पाऊस येत नाही वाळून जातो.
Okay. Sundar Krishnan, you can close the recording.
Okay.